Now I will show you the Triaxial Dashboard, the alpha testing equipment software for triaxial tests. Once we launch the program, as we saw a while ago, it checks the data and the specs of the computer. If there is anything missing, if the specs are not enough, or if the screen resolution is not enough, it will inform the user before starting the test. Now, since I don't have the machine connected, it says connect to machine. Usually when we are connected to the machine, it does not show this icon over here. It shows start, pause, and stop instead. You can see their edges from behind. The software consists of upper part, which is the sensor readings, the quick access control panel, and the real-time dashboard for the sensors with their status and 0 buttons from over here. Below it we have a tab construction where we have multiple tabs. Each does a specific job, and the software changes its user interface to a dynamic one once a specific test type is selected. We'll go to each one of them in detail. The first tab is the initial test information. We have the specimen owner information over here. We have the laboratory information over here. Those are just for reporting. They do not have any interference with the test results or behavior. To the right side, we have the specimen data. We have the ID, specimen diameter, specimen height. Diameter and height are crucial for the test. We have to enter them because the stress, the elongation, the strain, everything is calculated from those two numbers. We can select the soil type from either the simplified menu or from the advanced menu. We can select the specimen type from here if it is remolded, intact, or prepared. We can select the area correction method. The ASTM standard uses cylindrical. We can put the specimen depth and water table, and from there the software will automatically calculate the pressure the specimen was under prior to extracting the specimen from the ground. So it uses those values in saturation stage and other stages later on. We have the moisture content. We can select if it's obtained from cutting excess material or the entire specimen. Let's enter any values over here. I'll show you the way the program behaves after that. You see this, the program started to calculate values over here. We can select the specific gravity if it's assumed or measured. We can put the estimated coefficient of consolidation, hydroconductivity if we have, liquid limit, and plastic limit. We can put them over here, and the program will automatically calculate the plasticity index for us. Those boxes in gray at the bottom, they are automatically calculated by the software and we cannot edit them. Those are the plasticity index, initial volume, initial unit weight, dry unit weight, initial void ratio, and initial saturation. After that, we have to select the membrane type and the membrane correction method to apply on the specimen if we are using membranes. In which we have to use membranes because it's triaxial test. We have to enter thickness, perimeter, modulus of elasticity of the membrane, and the program will automatically calculate the stiffness value for us, or if we have the stiffness value, we can write it directly. The filter paper cage, if we are using vertical filter strips, we can tick this one and enter the specifications of the vertical filter strips, and those will affect the calculations later on, especially at the end of consolidation. The second tab, it is the test type selection tab. We have two main menus. The first one is the simplified menu, from which we can directly just select the test name and proceed from there. And the second one is the advanced menu, at which we compile our own test. So from the simplified menu, we can select unconfined compression test, which is the uniaxial test. We have the three types of triaxial tests: UU, CU, and CD. Under each one, there is a small introduction about what the test is about. And next to it, it's the full name of the test. For example, UU test is called unconsolidated undrained compression loading test, and UU comes from the first letters from those two words. Same case with CU and CD tests. With specific accessories, we can perform CBR test on the same frame, so we can choose CBR from here as well. With extra accessories and a small pressure unit next to the machine, we can perform flexible wall permeability tests as well. On special test selection, we have unsaturated triaxial, we have dynamic, incremental, and other types of triaxial tests that are so advanced and requires more accessories to be added to the machine. For example, if we select UU test, as you can see here, we have shear stage added automatically and ending test added automatically to the tabs. If we select CD, for example, we have saturation, consolidation, and shear added to the tab selection over here, from which we can jump to the stages. If we select unconfined, we have the unconfined menu added. If we select CBR, we have CBR menu added. We'll go through those menus one by one in a while. As I told you, we have the simplified menu and the advanced menu. From the advanced menu, we can compile our own test. For example, we have consolidated, isotropic, drained, compression, loading. We just compiled a test for us, and just as a coincidence, we compiled CD test. So this is equivalent of CD test. We can make it special test, like we can go to K0 consolidation, drained, compression, loading, and this test is not available in the simplified menu, and it's not a standard test, it's a custom test. We can do stress path test. So the idea of designing this machine and the software was to have it suitable for commercial laboratories where they want to press start directly, and for universities where they want to investigate and do researches on the specimen. So we'll go back to simplified menu for demonstration, and we'll go to CD test. The third tab is the controller's initialization tab. From this tab onward, the design of the software goes as 1/3 and 2/3. The third part of the screen has a small user manual about what those parts can be used to and how to use them. So from this part of the tab, we can control the main frame. We can either set a speed and a percent of where the frame is located, and we can tell the machine go to halfway with a speed of 10 millimeters per minute, and then it will go to 50% height with this speed. Or we can give it a target force, like go to 500 Newton at a rate of 450 Newton per minute or 500 Newton per minute. So it's like we're going to 500 Newtons in 1 minute, and we can choose to sustain that load, like keep that load constant. So once we press on any of those, either the load rate one or the fast one, it will go up to 500 Newtons, and it will keep that 500 Newtons over here constant. It's just a way to manually control the unit. We have the same option over here for the cell PVA or cell pressure volume actuator. The PVA comes from here. If you see it later on, it comes from those. It's the pressure volume actuator. It's the unit of the machine that controls the pressure and measures the volume of the system or the closed system, the pressure inside the cell, or inside the specimen, which is called pore PVA. So we have the same control over here. We can move the cell PVA piston to, let's say, 95% in order to fill it, for example, or we can empty it, move it to 5% or 10%. We can empty the water inside it, or we can tell the cell PVA to track a specific, to target a specific pressure, or track it, or keep on tracking it. The same thing applies for pore pressure. If you read this part carefully, it says to fill the piston from the de-aired water tank, please open VP2. That is the code of the valve on the panel valve number 2. You have to open it, which connects the cell PVA to the water tank at the top of the unit. While we are talking about that one, we have a magnetic stirrer built in under the water tank, and there is a small magnet inside the water tank. You can connect the water tank to vacuum from the top and turn on the magnetic stirrer from here, so that you de-air the water, or take out, suck the air out of the water to have a de-aired water ready for test, to speed up the process of saturation and other stages. Since we selected CD test, it means that we have saturation, consolidation, and shear stages. So we'll go to the stages one by one. This is the saturation stage. Goes by the same way the program is developed. The first part of the window is the user manual of the saturation stage. In this case, it tells us how to control the machine, what any parameter in this window does, and how to control it. We have the automatic option for fast saturation or for slower saturation. Each one has a different way of applying pressure to the specimen, and might or might not reach the target at the desired time, depending on the specimen type and the way or the speed the pressure is applied. Here we can check the B value whenever we want. We can skip to the next increment whenever we want. We can put the SchemTerms B value target as we desire. The B value check is done automatically. Even if we do not press anything, the program will automatically check B value each 5 minutes, as it is written over here. By the way, we can change this one to custom and then play with the numbers as we wish. It will check the B value each 5 minutes, and it will go to steps of 50 kilopascal per step. So it goes up 50 kilopascal, wait for 5 minutes, perform B value check, and then goes up to the step after until it reaches 300, because we can put a top limit for that. Let's say we allow the program to go up to 600 kilopascal during saturation. The software automatically gives us a message telling us for the remaining stages, consolidation and shear, the cell pressure can be maximum. The cell pressure prime, which is the difference between cell pressure and pore pressure, can be maximum 1200 kilopascal. Where it calculates this number is the capacity of the machine is 1800. So if we are using 600 kilopascal in saturation only, we have the following stages. They have only 1200 kilopascal remaining. So we have to pay attention on what pressure level we are working, or program our plan our tests to know where up to which level of pressure we are going with the consolidation, and decide how long the saturation stage should take from us. We have also a graph over here. The graph gives us the saturation percentage versus pore water pressure in kilopascal, or saturation percentage versus time in minutes. We can check the graph and check, like we can leave the machine a couple of hours, a day, depends on how dense our specimen is. We can come back and check to see how the saturation is increasing with time. This is all for saturation. Once the program reaches the SchemTerms B value target, it will jump automatically to consolidation stage. This is the consolidation stage. The design is still the same. The first third of the window is the user manual on what each of those steps does. For example, if we have a target effective stress of 500 kilopascal, so if we write 500 kilopascal as a target effective stress and we select stepwise increment, we can see the program automatically calculates the steps for us: 125, 250 and 500 kilopascals. If we write 600 and change this one, you can see the program calculated those steps in a different way. It's a stepwise increment with a ratio of 1. We can also create a custom stress increment, edit, and then we can edit those, hit delete on the steps that you don't want, and make this one in 2 steps, for example 300 and then 600, and then we can hit save and the table would be updated. In any case, during the consolidation stage, we can press on skip to next stress increment and the program will automatically jump to the step after. Once those steps finishes and the program calculates the coefficient of consolidation, it will automatically jump to shear stage. If we do not want to wait until the program figures out the end of consolidation stage, we can press on proceed to shear phase from here to jump to the stage after in a manual way. Before proceeding to shear stage, we can check that the software gives us volumetric strain versus log time, volumetric strain versus root time graphs. It gives us also actual those 4 graphs over here. We can export them, get the raw data for post calculations as always. In the shear stage, we have the user manual over here. We have the equations on how to calculate the shear rate. It does that automatically, but if we press on proceed to shear phase in a manual way, then we have to put the desired strain rate in a manual way. Usually it is something around 0.5% per minute, strain per minute. So we can either keep this default value or we can play with the values as we desire. The program will start shearing the specimen until it fails. The end of stage is determined if one of those conditions is met. Those are the conditions given by the ASTM standard. We can activate or deactivate any of those conditions. We can change where the condition stops. So when the strain reaches 20%, when the total strain reaches 20%, or that means when the specimen collapses by 20% of its height, the program will stop automatically. So we can tick any of those conditions to activate it to stop the program automatically after the specimen fails. We have the graphs for deviator stress and for top of Mohr circle graphs. We can get them, obtain them from here, and we can export their data to other programs like Excel for post calculation. Ending test tab, it's just simple instructions on how to end the test in a proper way, how to empty the cell, how to remove the pressure, remove the load from the specimen, how to put the specimen under vacuum so that it doesn't collapse and make a mess, or how to keep the specimen intact in place, maybe for measurements, further measurements, diameter measurements, how checking the specimen, how it's deformed, taking photos of the specimen and so on. We can follow those steps simply and it will help us remove the specimen in a clean, fast and easy way. It tells us here that we can save the file, we can click on report settings to check the report and check what we will include in the settings. If we go back to test type, I'll show you that when we select UU test, we do not have shear and consolidate. We do not have saturation and consolidation stages anymore. We have only shear, so it's the same window that we talked about. If we select UU, we have saturation and consolidation. If we select CD, we will have also saturation and consolidation. I will go through CBR test and unconfined compression test in a while. I just want to wrap everything up with the Triaxial test. If we go to file, we can of course create a new test, load an old test, save or save as the current test. We can go to report settings. I'll jump to that in a while. We can get reporting, either the detailed report for the current ongoing test or the group reporting. If we have a set of 3 tests, then we can get the group reporting where it gives us the Moore circle and the result of 3 tests in the same place. So if we go to report settings, we will see that we have the ability to include or not to include any of the test parameters we entered before, like any of those parameters. We have the option to include any, not include any. We have the option to include graphs, not to include graphs in the report. So for example, this is the full report. Like, we do not want the filter strips properties, we don't want membrane properties to be in the graph, in the report. We can simply untick them from here, save, and then the report will be updated automatically. It says you can now access the file, the report on file reporting. The other nice point in the report section is empty boxes or empty data will not appear in the report. It will not appear as data not entered. It will just hide this place if it is empty, and it will put only the filled IDs or filled parameters in the report. For example, if we go to report, detailed reporting, we can see that we do not have, for example, specimen ID. It is empty. It doesn't come over here. We do not have coefficient of consolidation and conductivity. They are empty. They do not come over here. And the report goes on like that. We can export the data of the report to any place we want in the computer as CSV. Those are the raw data of the current test. All the readings, everything that has been done within the test are exported to a comma separated values or an Excel table for post calculation. We can export the graphs, select any graph from the test like saturation. We can view saturation graph, select which graph we want. We can hide the legend, zoom in, zoom out as we desire, and then we can either copy it to clipboard or export options to get the Excel data from it. We can close the software from here. If we press on this one, it will warn us if we are sure to close the software or not, and it will stop all the motors and all the parts inside the machine before closing the software, and then it will close it. From view, we can access the manual control tab. It tells us to be careful and to know what we are doing, because it gives us an access over all the parameters of the machine. We can control it in a manual way. We can jump into a middle of a test. We can change the target cell pressure and pore pressure from here. We can change the way the machine behaves with the stages like saturation, consolidation, and shear, whether we want them to be starting automatically or not. We can show the real-time calculation tab. It shows us all the parameters that are calculated in the background in real time. So in saturation stage, it's calculating all of those. In consolidation, it's calculating all of those. In shear, it's calculating all of those and paying attention to maximum peak, to maximum deviator stress or peak deviator stress over here. So we can check those, follow them, and see how the numbers are behaving. We can see the actual pressurizing rate over here, kilopascal per minute. This one is in real time. We can check the volume change on cell PVA, pore PVA, or if there is an external air PVA, we can check it over here. We can have a small stopwatch, like just a stopwatch. We can lap it. Whenever we lap, tells us the individual lap, the total lap, and pore pressure and cell pressure at each lap. So if they are changing, maybe we can like take a lap at each an hour or so. Then we can check the pore and cell pressure and see how they are behaving. We can set a timer, and the timer will start, and then it will beep when the time is out. We can see the real-time graph plotter. This one plots the load versus time, cell pressure versus time, pore pressure versus time, displacement versus time, cell piston position or the volume change versus time, pore volume change versus time. We can change the intervals, the piston, the graphs are being plotted at. We can make it slower. You can see now it's not plotting because it's very slow. If we click at any of those graphs, we can see the export options. We can get those values to Excel. We can reset the graphs whenever we want to start over. It's just a way of following all the sensors and all the readings of the machine in a single way for also for post calculations. In tools we have, I'll come to Test Wizard in a while, we have preferences. So they are just basic settings for the software, decimal points, tolerances of each sensor, starting pressure at the cell, time to check B value, piston touching force, and expected axial strain at failure. We can change the load cell capacity from here. If we purchase different capacities of load cells, we can simply change them from here. We have the Mohr circle creator as well. We can put sigma 3 maximum deviator stress over here. It will calculate center of and radius of Mohr circles and plot them for us, and then we can get the report from there. This one is available also in reporting, group reporting. If we get the group reporting, we can see the Mohr circle is here. If we load 3 different test files, it will check the report, draw Mohr circle, and create the full combined report over here. We have the calibration menu and the connection settings menu. From here we have update, citation and references for this software and embedded calculations. We have the abbreviations and symbols used in the software, like if you see T50, what does it mean? If you see PVA, what does it mean? If you see sigma prime, what does it mean? So it's just an abbreviation table. You can include the citation and abbreviation reporting. If you noticed, we have report settings. We have the ability to include an appendix to the report, so the references and symbols. We can include those in the report to submit them with each report so that the end user does not get lost when they see P versus Q graph. So they can just check references list and symbols list and know what it is. We can troubleshoot, refresh connections, refresh sensor readings, refresh tolerance values. If we change the tolerance within the test itself, we can see the speed algorithms. It says how each of the motors is moving, how the speed algorithm is working. We can send the feedback from here to us, to Alpha, directly to Alpha software development department, to check what error you're facing with the software. You can check the contact information, access remote support for TeamViewer, or access the website from here, and you can check about the program to check the version and so on. If we go to unconfined compressive strength, or UCS, the unconfined compressive strength test, here it tells us also how to do the test, what the test is used for. We can manually move the piston up and down from here to make it touching the specimen before running the test. We can check the dimensions written over here. They are brought over here just for final check before starting the test. We can write the strain controlled value, strain versus minute. We can check the maximum stress over here, corrected area over here, stress at 15% strain. We can check it over here, elapsed time, and we can put conditions to end the test when the load drops this much percent, or when the maximum load is reached. Down here we get the stress strain graph, or the load versus deformation millimeters graph. Lastly, we have CBR test. Again, we have the user manual at this side. We can have it in accordance to ASTM 1.27 mm per minute, EN or BS 1.00 mm per minute. We can change the piston diameter if we want, if we desire, if we want the values to be exactly correct. For the calculations, we can change the piston diameter. If we want a custom speed, we can just simply hit custom speed and write our own test speed and test with it. Or we can go back to the standard. Here's the elapsed time, here's the conditions to stop the test, either when it reaches maximum load or when the load drops. Here it takes the stress at 2.54, 5.08 millimeters, and it takes the maximum stress and calculates CBR value for each of those. If there is any inclination in the line or correction that has to be applied, we can simply write the value of correction in millimeters and apply it, and it will automatically shift all the CBR values to the applied correction. All of those and anything showed in the program, in the user interface, in the data and in the graphs, you are able to export them, get the raw data from them, and include them in your report, in the final test report. One last thing, this seems the software might seem to be overcomplicated for the test, and it might make some of the users afraid of the amount of settings embedded in the software. There's something that we added especially for the commercial laboratories, or where no further or deep settings are required. We can simply go to Tools, Test Wizard. This test wizard opens whenever we open the software automatically. It comes up. We can select the soil type as clay. We can select our test as CD. We can tick if we're still using the membrane supplied by alpha. We can fill the parameters with default values, select the specimen size, and hit apply. And as you can see, the program has filled all the parameters and everything required automatically, selected the test type for us, filled the saturation values for us, filled the schematometry value for us, took the consolidation and calculated the steps for us, and everything is set so that we are ready to directly hit start and proceed with the test without further things to do. So that's everything about the Triaxial software. Feel free to contact us if you have any questions. Thank you.